Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Phixem and I hope you guys are having a great day. Just want to make a short video. This video has kind of been on my mind for a little bit, and I was just going around YouTube watching some stuff, and I felt as though it's something that I kind of wanted to make my point on. It's going to be a little bit of a rant. If you guys watch my videos, I don't necessarily make a script. So this is going to be kind of off the cuff with the exception of a few references just to make sure I stay on topic and things of that nature. I think games in this day and age are becoming way too easy. In the sense of, first of all, with microtransactions, that's the first problem. You can purchase everything that you want and purchase weapons and stuff, as you can see in the video illustrated here, which I'll go into more detail as the video goes on. But also, I remember back in the day, back all the way back in 2002. I was in high school. I think I was in 2002. How old would I be? I think I might have been 12 years old in 2002. So I wouldn't have been only but so much old. I think I was only about 12 years old. Anyway, Onimusha 2 came out. You played as the protagonist Jubei. If you play Onimusha 1, you played as Seminosuke. Onimusha 2, you played as Jubei. And you would upgrade this gauntlet and you would turn into what's called an Onimusha, if I remember correctly. And I remember when you played through that game, you slayed demons, you killed stuff, and it was so much fun. Like, you enjoyed it. And I'm like going through the worlds, experiencing different bosses. And granted, the graphics aren't nearly as the way they are now. You're talking about back in PlayStation 2. But the game was fun, and it was rewarding. And one of the best rewards that it had was a sword. If any of you guys know where I'm going with this, the sword was called the Rekka-Ken. The Rekka-Ken. R-E-K-K-A-K-E-N. The Rekka-Ken. It was the strongest sword in the game. And I remember you had to fight through these levels. It was like a purple realm of something. Like it was crazy. Like, you had to fight through these different levels and realms and keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting till you get to all the way to the bottom. Like, it was almost something of, if you guys ever remember Final Fantasy X-2, and the Dark Knight armor that you would get, you would fight on these levels. You would fight through these, like, it was like these levels that you would go through. It was like 100 levels, and every 20 you would fight like a boss and whatnot. Well, anyway, you would fight through these levels, and once you get to a certain level, once you get to I think about 20 or 40, they would give you armor, and you would get, like, the deeper you go, the better equipment you get. Well, the Rekka-Ken from Onimusha 2 is the same thing. If you got all the way to the bottom and you actually completed it, you got the strongest sword in the game, and it was so rewarding. It was so rewarding because you was like, your hard work paid off. You knew everybody couldn't get that sword because of the work you had to put in. You knew beyond the actual abilities that Jubei had, you actually had to be halfway decent at the game. Excuse me. To do that, you had to be halfway decent at the game to be able to get there. Like, because it took time. Like, it was hard. I still remember that sword because of how hard it was, and also how strong it was afterwards. But I say all that to say, it seems like in this day and age, if that game was to come out in 2019, if Onimusha 2 was to come out by, I believe Capcom came up with that game in 2002, in this day and age, and maybe because I give Capcom some credit. Capcom is on the better side of a company, but I feel like if one of the major like U.S. companies like Activision or Activision or like an EA was to have a game like Onimusha, I feel like they would just make you pay for the Rekka-Ken. I think it'd be two ways: you either pay for the Rekka-Ken sword, or it wouldn't be as difficult as to get it. Like, I feel like games nowadays kind of glamorize and blow up participation awards just to make people feel good, like Musha did. Like, they want to replicate the hard work and the satisfaction that you get from getting the Rekka-Ken, like I did when I was a kid, in the same way, but without the work. and without the time. And sometimes, and like when you look at some of these games, and you see some of the problems that you see some of the things that they allow when they don't allow, how they have to always balance between different audiences. I started to notice something, and it was an article about Forbes magazine that came out years ago, and it was funny because I almost felt like it should have been out recently, but it came out several years back. I believe it was, I want to say maybe 2012, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but it came out a couple years ago, and it talked about why games are getting easier, and it was one specific point that I dare argue, not argue in the sense of I think is wrong, but I just don't like it. And one of the biggest things I've noticed is that nowadays, with microtransactions, DLCs, season passes, and everything else running rampant, the reason why games have progressively gotten easier, and why games like Cuphead will get way too much flack than it ever deserved. Cuphead is a great game. I haven't even actually beat the game, but I still think Cuphead is a great game. I think it's great visually. It kind of reminds me of, like, old cartoons from back in my day and generations before me. So it's kind of cool. But I say all that to say, it seems like nowadays, casual gamers, people who are not necessarily as dedicated, who are not necessarily as involved in game as people were back then, have started to jump into the gaming business, and just playing video games like everybody else. But so these industries know that. They know there's a divide amongst the community in several different games. And you can pick a game that has a multiplayer, that has a tier of good and bad players, and you can pick, okay, you have your casual players here, and you have your elite players. And 9 times out of 10, and I will almost say 10 times out of 10, the casual player is going to multiply the elite, the elite and the better players, almost like 5-6 to 1. I'm just throwing out numbers. There's no actual fact. This actually exists. I'm just throwing it out. And companies realize that. So they said, well, why are we catering to the small audience? Well, we can cater to the casual fan, and we can make a bunch of money off of it. Like, if you think about games like Activision, I think they own Candy Crush. Candy Crush, I think back in 2017, made something of like 2.5 billion in that year. Candy Crush. A game, just a game where you figure out puzzles, puzzles and stuff like that. It made that much money off of it, so you can pass levels, you can buy power ups, and you can tell I don't play it like that. But I think it's kind of funny that nowadays, because the casual gamer is kind of the mass, games are kind of leaning towards the mass, because financially it makes sense, and I get that. But as a consumer, as the person who plays the game, it's not fun. It's not fun. Like, I like Destiny, but I don't enjoy what it seems like things need to be accessible for everybody when they haven't earned it, to be honest. Like, prime example, the game that I'm playing right now. If you watched the video earlier, you see me buy a whole bunch of attachments. Now, I played this game when I first got my PS4. I downloaded a bunch of free games. So I didn't have any games to come with it at that exact time. So I was like, oh, I remember Retribution. Let me download that and let me see how that is. So I downloaded it and I played it, and I accumulated like some credits and whatnot. So when I made this video, I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just buy a bunch of attachments and equipment and a bunch of items, just to see how much it actually affects. How much it affects the game. And as you can see, when the video started, I bought scopes, upgrades. I brought the weapon. The weapon, you do not come with that. You have to pay for that. And I used the credits that they actually give me in game to actually buy this stuff, and just to go through the game and just to see how it works. And not to my surprise, to be honest, the second game I played, the first game I jumped in, and it was a pretty bad game. I think it was only like 4-2 or something like that. But this second game, I jumped in, I did pretty well. Now, I end what I think maybe about 14 kills and 2 deaths, but I can feel the significant difference just for purchasing those items. The items only going to last a day, which that's all I need him for, because that's how long I'm only going to use it for this video. But I found it funny, like they want you to feel good because I brought some weapons, I brought some attachments, I brought some weapons, I made it look good, and it's like, dang, this game is actually good. Like it makes you feel good. It's like, dang, you're actually beasting. And I know in my heart I didn't. I just brought a bunch of stuff. Like, it's not rewarding because it's not an even playing field. Like, I'm walking through and I'm cutting down people and I just got a double kill. Not because I don't think personally that I'm better than anybody else, because I took the time out to pay for stuff. And I say all that to say, just to, kind of wrap up a bit. Like, it seems like this is the state of gaming with a lot of places now, with a lot of game companies now. I mean, granted, you still have, your competitive scene, which I personally like. I personally like the Call of Duty competitive scene. I personally like Street Fighter and watching a lot of guys do tournaments in Evo and stuff like that, and Call of Duty World League and Counter-Strike and even League of Legends. I maybe played League of Legends maybe at total time, maybe about 10 hours. But I enjoy the game. I enjoy the competitive aspect of it because it's earned. You got to put time in. You got to put the work in. And I just think nowadays, like, we've moved so far from the hardcore players to where it was only, I'm not going to say a select few. We moved from a time where games were mainly for people who were like it was a smaller community back then. Like back in 2002, gaming was a smaller community. It wasn't as many casual players as it is now. That's what I'm saying. Nowadays, it's become way more mainstream. It's become so much bigger. I believe I just looked at a statistic to say esports is made over $800 million as a whole last year as a business. Casual players are more coming along and wanting to be a part of the gaming industry, and these businesses are going to cater to that. I'm just afraid that we won't ever get back to those Onimusha 2 days where you actually feel rewarded, and we're moving into those days now where a lot of these console games are starting to feel like these mobile games where they give you a bunch of stuff and make you feel good just so you can put money into it and be better than the next person, and that person wants to spend money and back and forth and so on and so on. So that's all the time I have. I just wanted to chat it up with you guys about that, and just wanted to get a couple things off my chest. Hopefully I made sense. I know, again, I don't necessarily script these videos, but I just miss the days where games and rewards within those games felt rewarding because you worked for them, and they were exclusive unless you worked for them. Unless you didn't work for them. There's no way to get them unless you worked and put the time in for them. So that's all the time I have today. I appreciate you guys. I thank you guys for checking out the video. Till the next episode. Peace.